All right, Ambush. Today we have a returning guest. She joined us about 6 months ago to take us behind. At the time, was a brand new single entitled "Crossed Off." But now we not only have a brand new music video that is incredible visual there for it, but we also have a new debut EP entitled Phase 1 Shadows that we are discussing today with my guest, Vicki Lovelee. How's it going today, Vicki?
Hi, I'm doing good. But super excited to be back today.
Very excited to have you back. I've been keeping an eye on your growth here, the things that you've been doing, and I'm very, very excited to jump on into them here today with you.
I'm so excited. 6 months flew by so quick. So here we are today.
It's incredible how fast time moves, and it's incredible what we can accomplish inside of that time. And like I mentioned, a few of those accomplishments here. So I would love to start off with the music video that I mentioned there for your track Crossed Off. Because like I mentioned, you discussed that you had plans to create it, sort of what the idea was for it. But now as of September 25th here in 2021, it is on YouTube. It is in our hands. It is there for our visual enjoyment. So take us a little bit behind this incredible music video that I happen to see you are also the artistic director for.
Yes. Oh my goodness. This music video for Crossed Off was probably the biggest project I've ever had to put together. Mainly because the location where I wanted to film at, I wanted to film in a very, very nice cathedral with the stained glass designs and just to have that wow factor. It kind of relates to what the song is about. And I wasn't sure if I was able to pull it off because I started reaching out to a bunch of cathedrals back in March, right? I sent a bunch of emails, contacted I think 20 or 30 different churches. And because of COVID, I just wasn't sure if that was going to be an option. But thankfully, I was able to reach out to St. Anne's Anglican Church, and they were super accommodating. And they were like, "Yeah, of course, come and film your video here." So I filmed it in the summertime, and then put it all together. Edited the video with Zebra Media. He's super amazing. He helped me direct the video, and here we are. So I'm so glad to finally have it out in the world and just basically hopefully people enjoy it. Yeah.
Well, I definitely think that they would. And I mean, obviously, you mentioned just the difficulties of location, because when you're trying to reach out to them, I'm sure even just the difficulties of COVID alone, but there's probably some who are just like, can you tell us exactly what's going on here? And what do you mean you're going to be holding a skull inside the middle of our church?
I know. So that was sort of another difficulty as I was reaching out to all the churches because in no way did I want to disrespect anyone, and I wasn't going to do anything vulgar or anything, but I really wanted to let them know exactly what I plan on doing in the video so that there weren't any surprises. And once I film it, they're like, whoa, 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 what do you mean? So yeah, it was definitely very stressful, but very exciting that I got a chance to film in such a beautiful church.
Mm-hmm. Very beautiful. And like you mentioned, the stained glass and everything definitely adds to it. The ambiance definitely adds to it too. And you definitely keep with the color themes that you've been using through a lot of the EPs building here as well, with a lot of the black and the pink, where you see right now with the lava lamp in the back and your clothing as well. So definitely still keeping on point.
Yeah. Actually, there's been a couple of times when people ask me, yo, how do you create these visuals? How do you come up with it? And honestly, I've always had such a huge imagination, especially growing up, but I just never did anything and never just told anyone. I just always see pictures in my head when I hear a song. When I hear Lady Gaga songs or Marina songs, sometimes I can envision what that music video would look like. And I just was like, oh, okay, cool. I thought it was like daydreaming almost. So like creating music and being an artist is kind of like another way for me to express like a different side of myself and kind of telling a story basically. Yeah.
Definitely. It allows you to explore a little bit more of that creative energy because as musicians, we're artists, but that doesn't mean that that's the only art we have to be confined to, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And like that's something that I just love, not only listening to music, but kind of writing the lyrics and also pairing them up with like visuals and kind of like telling like a whole, it's almost like a movie almost, which storyline and visuals together. So I love it. I love it so much.
Well, and the way that it comes out, like just how clean and crisp, it definitely looks like it could be out of a movie for sure, too. Zebra Media, you killed this video. My goodness.
That was my first time working with him and he did such an amazing job. Like um he kind of took my storyline and like he added his own like ideas too and it turned out so cool. So super grateful. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. And you mentioned that you hope that people get some good feelings, some good energy out of this video. Of course, it's been out for almost a month here now. So what exactly has the initial feedback for this music video been like?
A lot of people were like, whoa, right? Because like like it's tricky sometimes being like an independent artist because you kind of have to be your own boss. You kind of have to like call the shots a little bit. So a lot of people were like, whoa, it kind of looks like, you know, you directed it with like a label or something. And what I'm like super grateful is that like I was able to have a little team of, freelance artists or independent workers and in the music field and we're able to like basically like come together independently and like put out such an amazing music video. So that's why for now, like I love staying independent and it's kind of like with the technology that we have now and with social media, it's kind of like we're our own bosses.
It's a lot more accessible than it would have been 10, 15 years ago, where cameras were a lot more expensive. And then, like,
Yes.
to learn some of these skills, like, you actually had to go to school. You had to pay to
Yeah.
go to school. You had to be accepted into these programs where, like, now sometimes you can like just through being able to network so much more easily and
Mm-hmm.
connect with people who can mentor you through things, or even just how some people go through it with the YouTube videos or whatever else, right? Where it's
Yeah.
this information and the technology is just so much more accessible and it's put a lot more power in the hands of the independent artist.
Totally agree. Like the reason why I was able to even like reach out to Zebra Media and reach out to Kat, who was the makeup artist, is all through Instagram. You know what I mean? Like if there was no social media, you would have not as much of like resources because you kind of have to like physically go out and like meet people. But with social media, it's like a bridge kind of connecting all the different creatives, especially like in your area. So that was super cool and kind of with learning, for example, like how to film and stuff like that. Even just with our smartphones, like our iPhones, you can film pretty good stuff in pretty good quality with just the camera alone. Yeah.
Yeah, you just got to not drop it and crack the lens on the camera and it'll come out beautiful,
I have a
right?
huge crack in my screen right now, so it still works. It still works.
I do too, but at least it's not over my camera lens.
Yes. Oh, true. Yes.
Oh my goodness. I love it. I love it. And not just this video, but I also love this EP, this brand new EP, which as of the recording of this interview released yesterday. So
Yeah.
brand new. So very
Fresh out the
exciting.
womb.
Ooh, yes, it is. And what does it feel like to finally have that debut EP out into the world, Vicky?
It's such an amazing feeling because I've been thinking about this concept and putting this together probably these past 6 months, to be honest, or even like the past 8 months. Um, on the EP, there's two new songs, which is called Alone and Shadow. And once I started to write the songs, I realized I wanted to create a little collection of songs um, about like the fears and struggles that we have. So everything on this new EP kind of deals with different topics that not only I myself struggle with, but I know other people kind of have to deal with as well. So I wanted to basically like put it in a little bundle EP and basically say that, hey, like you're not alone. Like I'm going through this stuff and I'm sure that other people go through it too, but maybe sometimes you don't have a chance to talk about it with people around you, or maybe you're too scared to even talk about those things too. But I really want to put it out in the world and say, hey, I'm afraid of this, I'm afraid of that. Because I don't feel like it's controlling me as much anymore if I like just say it out loud. It's not like dwelling inside anymore.
Facing your fears in a way, maybe not in like the masochistic way of like, we're going to face our fears, but still like you're facing them and you're walking through the shadows to get to the light, right? Which was part of why I love the name of this EP here, Phase 1 Shadows. And I'm interested to know why Phase 1. Is there going to be more chapters sort of just delving through this human experience?
Yes. The short answer, yes. I am currently writing some more songs, and if all goes to plan, there will be a Phase 2 where it's sort of starting to move on, past those fears and past those struggles. And I want to write songs for the next EP that's a little bit more confident, a little bit like sassy, kind of like reclaiming that confidence. So it's going to be a different theme, a different phase.
So how would one go through sort of rebuilding themselves or building themselves after coming through their shadow phase then?
Yeah. It's actually such a tricky topic because, there's been so many times when like, I feel like, okay, like, for example, I struggle with a little bit of like anxiety sometimes. I feel, okay, I'm getting better, I'm learning more about myself. I'm feeling good. And the next thing you know, one day I'm like, it plummets again. So there's been so many times when I just kind of feel like defeated because I thought I was, moving past my anxiety. I thought I was, feeling better, but I think that's why I love writing this first phase of shadows, to kind of remind ourselves that it's okay that you deal with those as long as you like try to move past it. You do as much as you can to like talk about it. And I think that's the only way we can manage it and keep it under control. Yeah.
No, I love that. I love how you put that. And I also like listening through the EP yesterday and this morning, just listening through like the array of sounds, which sort of like the way that like it made me think of it is that some days where, like you mentioned, one of the things that you deal with is anxiety. And as people who go through struggles, usually it's not just one different thing. And I feel like you kind of captured different energies of just like these different shadows, these different darknesses that can envelop us through sort of incorporating different sounds, different genres, which I thought was really powerful.
Yes. And actually, like with the things that we always deal with, it's not just, oh, I feel sad. Sometimes you feel like angry. Sometimes you just want to cry. Sometimes you just want to lie on the floor and not think about it. So I kind of wanted to add that to like the production of all the songs. Actually, all the songs that's on the EP, it talks about kind of like what you said, like different topics almost, or it talks about different types of struggle. But I wanted to also incorporate different types of production too. So, for example, one of the new tracks, Alone, it's a little bit more angry. I tried to add some like heavy guitars and like electric guitars because I wanted to add that emotion of sometimes when you're sad, you also feel angry too. I wanted to add that into it. And then there's songs like Summer Has Fallen, where it's so like mellow and kind of like you just want to lie on the floor and just cry about it. So I wanted to just add that in the production as well.
I love that. And I want to dive into some of those new tracks because you mentioned that there are 2 new tracks and you just mentioned one of them, Alone, and sort of the energy there. And honestly, this might be one of my favorite tracks off of the EP. Maybe it's just because it's that new shiny object, but like I love the part of the song when you hit that like layer in the voice, like that pre-chorus where, but I never realized, but I never
Hey,
realized.
hey, hey.
Like, ah, yeah, the first time I heard that, I was like, I gotta go back 10 seconds immediately.
Yeah.
Take us a little bit further behind this track here, creating it, the energy that you captured with it, because you mentioned like a little bit of anger in this
Mm-hmm.
feeling
Mm-hmm.
here.
So I wrote alone. Kind of. There's actually two different narratives in the song. Like the first narrative, which is the most obvious, is someone who just feels so alone and lonely that they don't feel like anyone around them is there to help them. Your mind is sort of like so deep in that like black hole that you don't realize that there are people there to help you, but then you just don't realize it. So in there's a voice later in the song where it goes, "You're not a." So that part's like the second narrative where it's that like voice kind of calling out from the top, being like, I'm here to help you. But because like your brain and just what you're dealing with, sometimes you feel like the world is spinning, so you don't realize it. So it's kind of like I've been in both situations before where it hurts either way, whether it's you witnessing someone who is so in pain and they're dealing with so many things that like maybe you don't know how to help them or they don't realize you're there to help you. But then there's also when you're in that situation where you feel like one thing after another just keeps happening and you're so like like into whatever's going on that you don't realize that there's someone there to help you. So I kind of wanted to write about that narrative. So whichever side that you're on, you can kind of relate to it.
I like that. I like that very much. And it
Hmm.
also stands to some of the narrative that goes around that mental health battle, where it's, oh, if you're struggling, reach out. Well, sometimes it's just exactly that. You're trapped in this cloud inside your mind that you don't even know how to reach out. You're afraid people are going to judge you, whatever it happens to be. And then just sort of that adverse side where it's like, oh, well, you have to reach out to your friends. But if your friend isn't truly willing to open up to you or doesn't know how to open up to you either, then sometimes that can be, well, I tried, but what can you do? And it's part of just, once again, continuing to break that stigma, continue to break that battle, and once again, teach people exactly that.
Hmm.
You're not alone.
I totally agree. And I think something that I've been super thankful for the friends around me is that it's okay if you're having a bad day and talking about it. I think sometimes um, like it's maybe you feel like you don't want to bother them with the things you're going through. I've totally felt that way before, but more often than not, if you tell someone, hey, like I just want to talk about something that I'm dealing with, more often than not, hopefully, they'll be there to listen. Hopefully,
Hopefully.
hopefully.
As some of us also need to learn how to become better listeners as well, which is something else that we also need to work on here. But it's
Hmm.
hopefully together in time with both of these things, maybe we can create a world that is a little bit healthier for us as human beings in our mental states, for sure.
Yes, yes, because you know, life is so complicated enough. I feel like the least we can do is try to like help each other. You know what I mean?
Add a little humanity to being human.
Yes.
Absolutely, of course. And we also mentioned that there's one more other new track on this album that we've yet to dive into here, and that, of course, is Shadow. So, what exactly does Shadow mean to Vicki Lovelee?
So I wrote it in the mindset of it's my fear of death. It's my fear of what happens after death. But you can interpret it in many different ways, actually. But for me personally, it's kind of talking about how I'm just so afraid of like what happens after death because no one really knows. Like no matter what you believe in, if it's like heaven or reincarnation or anything like that, no one will like 100% know. So it's kind of like, oh God, like what if one day we just like cease to exist and that thought just really freaks me out. And the first lyric of the song is, ever since I was 5, I already knew that there's an end in all our lives. Because to be honest, I remember when I was like 5 or 6, I would be like crying about it. I would be crying about the fact that we're going to die one day. And I don't know why I already had that concept in my mind when I was like literally like a baby. But it's something that I never talk about um, pretty much like in my day to day because it really freaks me out talking about it. So I really wanted to like write a song about it just to kind of like hopefully I can not let it control me as much.
Get the energy out into the world. Once again, facing the fear and maybe
Yes.
sort of trying to conquer and realizing that even if there is an inevitable
That's a
end
hard word
to
to
your
say.
time here, it definitely is, right? Especially in the middle of like a long sentence, but
Inevitable.
but yes, it's even if there is that inevitable end, it part of like our experience here on Earth, and even though there's no confirmation of otherwise of like what happens after, it's you have to face that fear because if you continue to live in it, then maybe you're not exactly getting the full experience of your time here.
Yeah. There's so many times when if I start to think about it, I have to immediately force myself to stop thinking about it or else I will kind of fall into that black hole. So it's not as bad as it was before. I mean, I feel like writing this song and putting this song out in the world kind of helped me just not let these things consume me as much. I think it will be impossible to have it never consume you. It's impossible to like never think about it, but at least I can sort of accept it a little bit more now that that's going to happen.
Yes, exactly. Work through it at least. These things
Yes.
take time as well.
Yes.
You don't face your fears in exactly one day and get over them. Sometimes
I
these things take
wish.
time. I wish, my God, right? If only it was so simple.
If only.
If only it was as simple as this conversation has been, because I have had a blast here once again, Vicki. My goodness. Before we part ways once again, how can the audience find out more about Vicki Lovelee and this brand new EP, Phase 1 Shadows?
Yes, you can stream it on any music platform. And my name is the same everywhere online. That's Vicki Lovelee. And that's spelled VICKILOVELEE. You can find me anywhere. And once you stream it, let me know what you think. You can feel free to like DM me and let me know what you think.
Absolutely. Reach out to the artist. Let them know what you got from the song, because of course everyone gets their own interpretation of the song. Maybe it'll help you face your own fears, maybe in a way. Who knows? Either way, I am so glad that we had this chance to reconnect. So thank you for joining me once again here on the Desert Tiger Podcast of Vicki Lovelee.
Thank you so much for having me. I had so much fun.